Good morning, everyone. Welcome into Southeastern 14. I'm Blayne Gilmer, and this is the SEC Morning Report for Thursday, October 12th. We are barreling towards Week 7 of college football action, and we are excited to bring you daily SEC coverage here on Southeastern 14. The audience is growing. The channel is growing, just past 12,000 subs on YouTube, and that is thankful. The big thanks to a lot of you guys. So we appreciate you tuning in. If you're not subscribed already, go ahead, subscribe. Hit that like button while you're in here. It's absolutely free, and turn on notifications so you'll know when we go live, like Chris Lee, Blake Lovell, when they go live on daily shows, myself with Noshawn Marino and Tavares King. Like we went live last night on Wednesdays, as we do for players section. So lots of great content and basketball stuff coming out as well here soon. So make sure you are a part of it. And guys, if you want to advertise to a audience that watches SEC sports, you can hit up caroline.smith@southeastern14.com. And we would love to have you be a part of what we're doing here. Be an MVP for Southeastern 14 and advertise with us here today. Guys, as always, you can get you a 15% discount in the description below for Chomps. Get some great protein, beef, venison, turkey, all the different flavors you got. Beef jalapeno is my favorite on there, so check that out today as well. Now, guys, we talked a lot about some of these matchups yesterday, a couple of them that we went into heavily into Tennessee and Texas A&M. So if you are a Tennessee, Texas A&M fan, you can go check that out in the archives. It's the morning report from yesterday. But we also touched on the importance of Billy Napier and Shane Beamer in this matchup in Columbia this weekend, how important that one is going to be. And that is a huge matchup in Columbia, as both of those coaches badly need a win. But you talk about programs need to win. It's who is going to bounce back better between Missouri and Kentucky. I'm excited to see these two teams that didn't get the outcome that they wanted last week, who bounces back better. This is a 7:30 kickoff in Lexington. It's on the SEC network. I'm really excited to see this matchup. You see over here Cody Schrader on the screen behind me. Some injury news on him. We got some injury news on Kentucky. We'll get into all of that. But guys, when you look at these two teams, they're very similar in terms of, okay, two teams that are kind of trying to peak right here in the middle of the season, hit a speed bump after some impressive wins earlier in the year. Of course, what Kentucky did to demolish Florida at home in Lexington, but then they ran into that buzzsaw in Athens last week. And then Missouri had jumped up all over LSU and then couldn't hold on at home. A pick six at the end really kind of put it out of reach for Missouri late. Brady Cook played really, really well overall in that game, but did have to force a couple of things. Devin Leary for Kentucky still has not found his stride, and when Ray Davis was limited by Georgia, it just didn't look that great in the passing game, and Mark Stoops even showed some of his displeasure during the game, which he says he typically does not do to quarterbacks. Doesn't want to kind of throw them off or anything like that, but it was so egregious, some of the misses that Devin Leary had. He said he had to say something. And then, there was even questions about, whether or not that, hey, do you go with another guy and stuff like that? So definitely some pressure on Devin Leary to perform this week at home versus a Missouri team that is – we came into this year thinking about the Missouri defense as going to be one of the better ones in the league. That has not come to fruition, whether it is because of some key injuries or they just haven't played up to the standard that maybe everybody thought coming in. With so many returning starters, so many seniors, they're giving up they're just giving up a lot of easy plays right now. And I'm going to go into both of these defenses here. I'm going to put these numbers on the screen. So let's take a look at the advanced metrics for both of these defenses here. Missouri, you can see that they're doing a pretty good job of stopping plays before they ever get started. Their stuff rate is 25.2%, so over a quarter of the percentage of plays that they face defensively, they are stopping at or behind the line of scrimmage. Kentucky, 19.3%. That number was higher for both of those teams before this past week, as Missouri ran into that prolific offense in LSU. And then, of course, Georgia, broke out in a big way versus Kentucky in Athens. The havoc rate went down for both teams as well. When you're talking about Kentucky, that number fell down a percentage point or two there with not being able to get any pressure on Carson Beck. And you look at the points per opportunity. An opportunity is when a team gets past your 40-yard line. So you have the opposing team that has driven the ball inside of your own 40-yard line. You can see that Kentucky has an advantage here, giving up 3.4 points per opportunity to the opposing offense versus Missouri 4.6. That has a lot to do. Kansas State, LSU really, skew that number up for Missouri. But I'll tell you what, they've got to be better when it comes to scoring opportunities on the road and trying to force Kentucky into field goals. But in terms of Kentucky, that number for them last week was below 3, 2.8. It has jumped up to 3.4 points per opportunity for their opposition. It shows just how good Georgia was offensively last week against them and how bad Kentucky struggled. The line yards are about the same in terms of the push that the offensive line gets against that team, and then the average PPA, predicted points added because of the defense. Still a very, very good number. The average for the league is a little north of 0.2. So both of them a little bit better than average in terms of the effect that each play has against them in terms of producing points. So these defenses are neck and neck. Also offensively, these teams both, you're looking at Missouri, 36 plays of 20-plus yards this year. You're looking at Kentucky, 35 plays of 20-plus yards this year. When you look at 30-yard plays, Kentucky has 17, okay, and Missouri has 18. So these are very, very evenly matched teams in terms of their explosiveness. They do it in different ways. Kentucky has more explosive runs. Missouri has more explosive passes. And listen, both have weapons on the outside. Undoubtedly, Luther Burden is the best weapon in the entire game. I mean, I think he's going to be a very high first-round draft pick when he is able to come out for the NFL draft. And then I think you would also give Missouri the advantage at quarterback, as Devin Leary has been unable to get going. However, key injuries, I am concerned that even though Brady Cook has been playing really good football, I'm concerned about that the Missouri offense may become a little one-dimensional if Cody Schrader is not able to play. He had a pulled quad against LSU and was unable to really be 100%, still rushed for over 100 yards. So that tells you, one, how tough he is, two, how bad the LSU defense is. It is awful right now. And I don't know if that gives you a little bit of a sense of maybe false confidence after that game, because LSU has been so bad at being out of position. With the pride that Brad White and Mark Stoops have for that defense there at Kentucky, they're going to want to correct a lot of the mistakes they had against Georgia. Now, Mark Stoops did make a point. It's not like there was a bunch of just wide open receivers running down the field against Kentucky. At that Georgia game, a couple times Brock Bowers is going to do that to anyone. But some of the big plays, Marcus Rosemy, Jack Saint streaking across the middle, Carson Beck put that in the middle of three defenders, really a great throw, great catch, and also Ra Thomas with a contested catch at the pylon that he barely gets his foot in there. So it's not like Kentucky was just absolutely busting coverages over there, but at the same time, Luther Burden and company probably see some things that they can take advantage of. One of those would be safety. Jayden Geiger is going to be out for a while with an elbow injury. He is not going to play in this game for Kentucky. And then on the other side of Missouri's defense, Enos Rakestraw is unlikely to play with a groin injury. Believe Eli Drinkwitz has already come out and said they're going to hold him out. If it was up to Enos, he would probably play, but they're going to hold him out. So if Enos Rakestraw and Cody Schrader are out, those are two big pieces, one on offense, one on defense for Missouri. Kentucky, like I said, Jayden Geiger going to be out with that elbow injury. But it does look like Trevin Wallace will probably get an opportunity to come back and play. He exited the game with a shoulder injury. Who knows about Kenneth Horsey? I guess Kenneth Horsey, they're keeping everything tied under the lid there. If he comes back, it'll just be like a phoenix rising from the ashes over there. Just all of a sudden, Kenneth Horsey back at guard. That would be big for Kentucky. He is not listed on the depth chart right now for Kentucky that they released prior to this game. So is that gamesmanship, or is he working his way back from injury? We shall see. Keyshawn Silver also left with a shoulder injury for Kentucky in the Georgia game. But I think both of those are still listed on the depth chart. So I think those would probably be trending more towards playing in this game. But still, I think both of these teams right now, this is a huge game for them. How the East is going to shake out. They got their backs against the wall. Both still have games against Tennessee coming up, and Missouri still controls their own destiny because they have Tennessee and Georgia coming up. So a win on the road versus Kentucky would go a long way towards them making their third SEC championship game here in the last year of divisions, as they went back-to-back SEC champions, I think back in 2013 and 2014, I believe, with those Missouri teams. So they're trying to do it in the last year of divisions here, and they would have to really kind of pick things up on that defensive side. Like I said, I know that LSU is going to put up points and yards on everybody. But what concerns me on that front is that how they allowed Logan Diggs to run the football on them. Also, Jayden Daniels ran the ball. Now, Devin Leary doesn't bring that element with his legs at all. But does Ray Davis get going? Here's what I think in this game is it's basically a pick'em game in terms of what Vegas thinks. Like we said, earlier, 2.5 point favorite for Kentucky. I think with the maturity level of both of these teams, I'm not sure that either one's going to be daunted by something they've seen. They see schematically, things like that. But I do think that nighttime environment there in Lexington, a big game, an opportunity to bounce back. Mark Stoops, that defensive performance didn't sit well with him. And I think overall they may be a little bit more healthy than Missouri at some key positions in this game. So I think Kentucky is going to win the game. And I think part of it is going to be because I don't necessarily trust Missouri just to shut down Ray Davis in a similar fashion that Georgia did. And let's just call it like it is. If Devin Leary can complete a couple of these wide open passes, because Liam Cohen is scheming up some wide open receivers, and he just missed a couple of them in that Georgia game. Missouri had a hard time in the secondary in this last game versus LSU. I think Kentucky can make enough plays with the play action, with the run game at home to be able to win this game, but it's going to be a close one, and I'm really excited about it. I do want to talk also about Auburn and LSU. When we're talking about Auburn and LSU, my biggest frustration here in this game is, man, you got 2 weeks to prepare for LSU if you're Auburn. And the press conference this week centered a lot around quarterback play, but most of the talk was about Peyton Thorne for Auburn. And if I'm Hugh Freeze and I'm Auburn, I'm looking at that Georgia game and looking what happened. And he said, hey, we're really close with some of these receivers. If we just catch the ball a couple of times, I mean, he really put it on the receivers that, hey, Peyton Thorne put the ball where it needed to be. Receivers have to make plays. And that may be the case. He knows the film and sees the film a whole lot better than you or I do. But I also saw Robbie Ashford make some dynamic plays with his legs. And as bad as LSU has been in terms of gap responsibility, just defense in general, I think that huge threat of having the quarterback running element would be a big deal for LSU in this game in terms of having to defend it. I think that Peyton Thorne can run, but I think Robbie Ashford brings just even more of a just tremendous headache for a defense to have to prepare for with his speed. So I don't know if the rotation is going to be more of a by series type deal. I don't like the flow of pulling a quarterback in and out during a series. I think that just disrupts everything. And you can't get in a flow, can't get in timing. So I want to see that. How does Auburn handle that coming off of a bye week, 2 weeks to prepare for LSU? They're going on the road at night in Baton Rouge. You know that the Tigers, the LSU Tigers, are going to be, really, really juiced up in terms of, okay, they were down versus Missouri. They were able to come back on the road. Now they get to come home in front of a crazy LSU crowd that always provides a great night game environment. And this is one, guys, this is a rivalry here in the West that always produces crazy games. And just look at a couple years ago, with Robbie Ashford and company and Bo Nix over there at LSU a couple years ago. Auburn wasn't even supposed to be in that game, and they almost won it. So, I mean, there's all kinds of craziness that happens in this matchup, and you can't, just go too far out on the limb. But I want to know how LSU does against that running game for Auburn that was able to put up over 200 yards rushing against Georgia. And a lot of that was because of the element of the quarterback run and how Georgia misfitted a lot of times. Well, if Georgia's misfitting it, how do you think LSU's defense is going to do against it? But conversely, Auburn has some injuries that they're dealing with, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. If Jalen Simpson is not able to play back at safety, on top of Austin Keys still being out and Keontae Scott being out, I mean, that I just don't know how you plan to stop Jayden Daniels, those receivers over there, and then also with Logan Diggs running the football. So, man, one thing I may be looking at here is maybe the over. I think Auburn's going to score some points. I think they're going to score. They're going to control the ball a little bit with that LSU defense not being able to get off the field sometimes on third down. But I think LSU is going to be very explosive. So I don't really have a whole lot to say in terms of, I think LSU should win the football game, but I think it's going to be closer than people think. And I also think there's going to be a lot of points scored in this game. Just kind of keep an eye out. How much does Robbie Ashford play? How is he utilized? And how does LSU fit against the run? I think those are some big things to watch in this game. Can any wide receivers step up for Auburn? Do they utilize the tight ends a little bit more? Offensively, listen, Jayden Daniels for LSU, he would be my, if I was a voter for the Heisman, he would be my vote for the Heisman right now. That's how good he's been. He's been that important to this team, particularly with how poor the defense has played. I just think that, whether it's finding Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, Kyron Lacey, Mason Taylor, he does a great job of distributing the football, makes good decisions with it, and can take off and run, obviously, very effectively when he needs to. But he's kind of put the team on his back here to start off this season. Now they have their backs against the wall. They still control their destiny in the West, as long as they beat Alabama, because Alabama has the tiebreaker over Ole Miss. LSU would have the tiebreaker over Alabama. It's going to get crazy over there, but they still are right there in this SEC West contest. And then, of course, Auburn as well is looking to just get better each week under Hugh Freeze. He's very, very realistic on the expectations. He's like, hey, we're looking to get better. We're looking to get healthy. We're looking to, just get better in our system. I think Hugh Freeze is going to be much more involved in the offensive play calling in this game. I think he's going to, make an emphasis of having more of what he pointed out was that they need to have more of the RPOs called during the game and have the correct RPO married up with the run concept, the pass concept married up with the run concept in those plays, so that Peyton Thorne or Robbie Ashford, but he mentioned Peyton Thorne specifically, could have the tools that he needs. He said the coaches have to give him the right tools in the tools box so that he can, set protections the correct way and also marry up the right pass plays with run plays in that RPO system where you read a defender and, you're keying on that defender. If he comes up to stop the run, you throw the pass behind it. Vice versa, if he drops out in the pass, you run the football. So I'm excited to see that matchup there in Baton Rouge. Finally, let's go back to Florida, South Carolina. We touched on how important this game was yesterday for Billy Napier and Shane Beamer, but some news came out last night about some of these players involved in this game that are key players, especially for Florida here. You're talking about center Kinsley Aguakon, tight end Jonathan Odom, and then wide receiver Andy Jean are out Saturday versus South Carolina. The biggest one of those is Kinsley Aguakon, guys, because when he's not at center, that Florida run game has not been as good. Also, you're going on the road, so setting protections, communication, quarterback, center exchange, all that kind of stuff comes into play. The good news for Florida is safety Miguel Mitchell, and then running back Trevor Etienne will play. He did not play against Vanderbilt, so that 1-2 punch of Etienne and Johnson is going to be there, but the point man there in the middle, the center, the experienced guy, and Kinsley Aguakon is out. Like I said, I think that plays to South Carolina's benefit there at home in terms of okay, that defense and that crowd being able to affect the communication there for Florida up front. But that is a big development there. So do with it as you will. South Carolina is still a slight favorite in this game. We'll be interested to see if this news coming out impacts the line at all before this game gets going. Oh, Florida does get back Austin Barber as well at offensive tackle. So they are getting one of the two offensive linemen back that they lost, didn't have for the Vanderbilt game. However, maybe the biggest blow there, Kinsley Aguakon, he is unable to go this week, according to our man Brian Edwards over there at Vegas Insider, which you can catch him and Blake here on the channel as well, guys. We have so many pieces of content that are coming out daily here on the Southeastern 14 channel. Make sure you follow me on Twitter using @BGilmer18. You can follow the network, the channel, using @14 Southeastern on X, or Twitter as it was formerly known. And then, of course, make sure that you like, subscribe, turn on notifications right here on the channel. We greatly appreciate that. Also, get you a 15% off on Chomps down below. Great, healthy protein snack there. And then also, if you want to advertise with us, you want to advertise to a SEC friendly audience, people who just love SEC football, basketball, baseball, then this is the place for you to partner with. So hit up Caroline.Smith at Southeastern 14 to do that. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. We have just another 2 sleeps to go before we hit some SEC football this weekend. So very, very excited for it. Tomorrow morning, I'll have Jake Crane from Crane and Company on the Daily Wire. He will be here for Jake's Takes on Southeastern 14, and we're looking forward to that and much more coverage of SEC football. So thank you for tuning in, and we will catch you guys next time to talk more SEC football and all the other SEC sports right here on Southeastern 14.